much. And Allard, CEO at Lakeside Life Science, who is going to talk about his time for point of care and diagnostics.
How's it going? I'm Allard, I'm the CEO of Lakeside Life Science, and I understand I'm the 10 minutes between lunch, and I promise I don't have data, I don't have a lot of in-depth slides, I'm not a scientist, I'm a nurse, so I'm going to keep it really light, and I like to start off with my favorite Lakeside joke. What did the fish say when it hit the wall? Anyone? Damn. So, like I said, I'm a nurse. And I sit in these meetings and I hear presentation after presentation about the data and samples and how do we get the right samples and, the drug development and enrolling into clinical trials. But I rarely hear the word patient, human being, us, your friends, your family. Us, most of the people in this room at some point will be a patient that's going to want an effective companion diagnostic to direct their therapy. I know I do. So I want to ask a question. I don't have a ton of data to support this. This is an idea that I'd like us all to start thinking about. Are point of care devices ready for the CDx market? Do we have an available option? I don't know, but let's talk about it. I got to do a little shameless sales pitch. That's why I'm here. I am the CEO of Lakeside Life Science. We were founded in 2015, father-son business. I'm here because of nepotism. So we've been around for almost 10 years. One thing I'd like to point out that I'm really excited about, the nuts and bolts, writing your analytical protocols, writing your clinical trial protocols, writing your regulatory filings, your 510K, de novo, PMA, whatever it is, we've developed proprietary software driven by AI that can do all of that for you. It's really cool, but let's get into something a little more interesting. Again, these are our offerings. We do analytical studies, clinical trials, and regulatory approvals. I actually added this morning, and Hannah Mamuska, if no one knows her, she's the CEO of Alva 10, and if you have any questions on reimbursement, that woman is brilliant, call her. But I'm going to read it out loud. Consider this. Every drug that has been developed in the past 30 plus years is a rationally designed targeted therapy. Drugs are specifically designed to target biological mechanisms and disease that cause symptoms in patients. Patients' biology is heterogeneous, requiring different types of therapy for different patients in order to relieve symptoms. Not everyone responds the same, but for the most part, we don't bother to find the target in the patient, forcing patients to fail through different drugs until they find one that works. The average response rate for drugs approved by FDA, around 36%. That means that most patients don't respond to the first or second therapies prescribed to them. The cost of drugs that don't work, plus the cost of unnecessary adverse events from those drugs, plus the cost of disease progressing in patients on ineffective therapies, equals massive waste in our healthcare system, enormous detriment to patient health. Diagnostics are the solution. That's a really bold statement. Again, Hannah's not afraid to hit hard, but it's the truth. This morning I saw a presentation that said there's 150 plus companion diagnostics. There's over 15,000 approved drugs on the market. We're not doing a good job, and that's just the truth. We're heading in the right direction, but we're not doing the best service for patients, and we can do a lot better. We're thinking about it and we're talking about it, and that's a great thing, but we need more patient interaction, and I loved what, I believe his name was Mark, from Quest said this morning. Please think about the community patient. Most patients are not seen in the academic centers that we're doing our clinical trials in. They're just not. Only about 3% of people actually ever go to academic centers for their treatment. So these patients are not getting sequencing. They're not getting these large data sets to really guide their therapy. And frankly, they don't trust us and want to go to those centers. So how are we going to go meet them? And we think that maybe point of care could help to solve that solution, because again, we talk a lot about developing assays to identify patients. We talk a lot about developing assays for clinical trials. We talk about trial work a lot, but we don't talk about the downstream utilization in patients enough, I believe. So we know the technology works. COVID really changed point of care testing. We have point of care molecular devices, we have point of care immunoassays. In 3 years' time, the technology surrounding point of care testing went crazy. It's totally different than it was in 2019. So what that tells me is, if we create the importance, if we talk about how important it is to bring tests to patients, technology follows at a pretty rapid rate. People are very adaptable and have the capacity to innovate quickly if we need to. So point of care did that. We know they're pretty accurate. We ran tens of thousands of these small test kits from the molecular to the immuno in our lab throughout COVID. And it turns out they're actually quite good. Some were junk. That's real. There are people in business that shouldn't have been there, but that happens. We know they have medical utility. They're easy to use, short time result. Again, there's molecular and there's antigen. So where could we possibly expand? What are some of the areas? You know, one of the things that I hear people in the industry talk about is starting smaller. You know, we can't bring a full genome panel to a rural hospital. Our office is located about an hour and a half north of here in rural New Hampshire. So I mean, in a town of 7,000 people, that's not gonna happen. And those oncologists don't understand the reports that are being sent to them from, the central laboratory. So where could we start? How could we start a little bit smaller? PSA, testosterone, those are simple immunoassays. We have semi-quantitative immunoassays on the market now. Thyroid hormones, what other cancer markers could we look at? There's really good data that shows that serum HER2 is better than IHC, that it's actually more effective. That could be put into a point of care setting and would be really useful within patient populations. So again, I'm not a scientist, I'm a nurse, supposed to be a business guy, not really good at that either. But I think we can do better in pointing these technologies, taking them from the research arena and bringing them to the world where we really need them, where patients really truly need them. So that was my question. If anybody would like to ask follow-ups, if not, I understand. 2 minutes until lunch, enjoy. We have a booth, you can come talk to us.
Your question was, Frank, is the market needs this, is the technology ready? I would absolutely say the technology is ready, is the market.
Yeah, that's a great question. My response to that would be, most individuals don't understand the concept of personalized medicine and also don't know that what we're doing exists. When I tell the average patient on the floor that there are tests that could tell them what therapy to take, they're like, where? I want that. Every single night there are hundreds of pharma commercials about drugs. There's none about companion diagnostics. So if we created that market, I believe it would be massive.
So I agree with you. The technology is good. I think the major issue is the system ready for the technology, because the technology is comprehensive. Implementing that technology in the context of a hospital, for instance, in the community center is not a possible thing. Not to mention the fact that it takes a long time to be able to get a patient to actually be seen at a hospital. So it's not just about the technology. The question is the system this system. You can make the most beautiful assay that is super comprehensive. You can bring next generation sequencing with 1,000 genes that will take care of absolutely everything, but where is the bioinformatics? Where is the infrastructure? Who is going to run the assay? Who's going to interpret it? Where is the pathologist? Where is the clinician? Where is the patient? So the personalization is not about the assay. The personalization is really about the system.
I agree in some senses, but I disagree in that that's the whole point of bringing it to point of care. Because now we're going to make it a more targeted test system. So instead of large sequences that require all of the AI and all of these advanced, support systems to give appropriate readouts, can we make them smaller? Can we now design them in a way that they can be used within a point of care setting? So that way it's not a high complexity laboratory.
It depends on the context, and I won't monopolize the whole conversation, but there are things that you can test with a single marker where point of care testing would work. But point of care testing for a lung cancer patient needs at least 13 different biomarkers that are not just one gene, they're actually a comprehensive and complex rearrangement that's actually not possible.
Fair enough. I think in some settings that's absolutely fair.
Okay, thank you, Paul.